Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Toula and I'm a practicing clinical and Jungian psychologist, creator of story image therapy, SIT shadow work, and also an organisation called Shadow Work Solutions. Shadow Work Solutions I developed because I found that there was a need to go deeper than just regular teaching and counselling methods. The average person has unconscious thoughts, feelings, memories, behaviours, etc. that are causing them grief, perhaps pain, conflict, internal and external, stress and pressure, and that person is perhaps not aware of the impact that is actually having on their daily life. And unless that person becomes more self-aware, they're going to sabotage themselves, they're going to have feelings of loneliness, or they're going to have that conflict, as I said. The person's going to struggle. And so the idea of becoming more conscious of what is in our unconscious is so that we can remove those blockages. Now, to remove them, we actually first have to recognize what they are. We call them complexes in our shadow. So the shadow is the part of us that we keep hidden or repressed. The first person to talk about the shadow was a gentleman called Dr. Jung. He was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, and he talked about the shadow self as being the part of ourselves that we keep hidden or repressed, or we perhaps don't even recognize its existence, but we will feel its effects. It generally starts in childhood and it continues through into our adulthood, and particularly during our teenage years I find that it usually amps up. So whatever it is that's in our unconscious, whether that's a predisposition towards anxiety or depression, perhaps substance abuse, self-harming, things like those sorts of behaviours will generally manifest during our teenage years. But most people won't work on those complexes in their shadow, those issues, as a young person. And so you'll find that that thread will continue on throughout their lifespan. I found that myself. I had a lot of difficulties during my teenage years. And then as an adult, I found that I was triggered in my job working with adolescents that were going through trauma. And then 10 years later in my private life, again, I got these familiar feelings that I had when I was an adolescent. And so I had to work on those issues. I just found that I couldn't ignore it anymore. And so once I started to become aware of the impact of those issues during my adolescence, I could then help others to become more self-aware of their own. And that's how SIT shadow work actually developed. So SIT shadow work sort of came out of my own SIT shadow work. So developing story image therapy was also my own sort of healing. So although I thought I was doing it for other people, which I am and I do in medical centres and schools and private organisations, businesses, etc., it was also originally born out of me needing to do it myself. So yeah, so it's grounded in research. It is actually a very good psychotherapeutic method, and it's something that I have refined over many years with what I call Jungian action research. So it's actually in consultation with that individual, whoever it is that I'm actually working with. So the tools have been actually refined and recreated over time to actually help a person to work on those issues on a much deeper level. And so that's sort of how I do it. And so Shadow Work Solutions as an organisation has been developed from having to do my own SIT shadow work and then doing it now with literally thousands of people. Over the last sort of 30 years I've been teaching and counselling. So yeah, it's over a long period, but it is something that I find very effective.